Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DTF1 podcast, where we are always down to Formula One. I'm your host, Andrew. This is my co-host, Tim.
Excuse me? Who's
Trent.
Tim?
It's actually Andre and Trent. Hello, Trent. How are you?
Mate, I am fantastic, actually.
That's
cool. Bold call. We've got a nice race coming up in, Montreal, in Canada. You've got some fun facts about that one. We had Baku. Probably the most disappointing thing was Ferrari Anyway, we'll get into it. Absolute disgrace from Ferrari. Anyway, all good. Shall we get stuck into Baku?
Get stuck into race review. Yeah, we were excited about this race.
You were?
I was.
I was on the fence.
Draft
like Latifi.
City, although I don't know if it was that much with these cars. Anyway, yeah, all right, let's talk about it. What did you reckon?
Yeah, it was good. Good-ish. I don't know. I got excited at the start because Checo dropped Charles. Like Latifi's contract's going to be dropped at the end of the year, but it didn't quite work out for him, did it?
No, it really didn't. I don't want to spend too much time talking about Red Bull because it was a bit boring. That's probably the most boring part of the race. Once Max got into the lead, see you later, absolutely dropped Checo. Don't know if there's more to that. Maybe Checo was conserving more than Max. I don't know. But my God, 1-2 and huge gap between the two and huge gap to third. Boring.
45 seconds, in fact.
Boring. But there's a lot of other interesting stuff in the race to talk about, I feel.
It was always being hard for Ferrari to win that race because they don't have the straight line speed. And they were saying that the straight in Baku is 2 kilometres long. Now, I know from racing experience that if you're trying to race a car with more horsepower, more straight line speed, it is impossible to race them. You have no chance. You can't outbrake them.
Sorry
you can't
about
do
that
anything.
Sound. That's I got a grocery delivery happening here.
With no snacks.
Apparently no snacks. There'll be fucking issues. Anyway, go on.
So and they had 14 k's an hour on the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Now, explain to me how you meant to pass that.
DRS and a slipstream should overcome that, but not easily.
It wasn't working. Like McLaren's up on the on Alonso at the end. Couldn't do anything about it.
That Alonso, that Alpine rear wing though looked like a Monza rear wing. They had that thing trimmed right down. The Ferraris though, I mean, what you're talking about never came to pass because, as you put it, when we were messaging each other during the race, they've engineered a hand grenade, haven't they?
It's true. Common term in Australia, guys. You make a really fast car, but it doesn't last.
Hand
it's
grenade.
Very common.
Certainly is. I mean, that's a joke. Double DNF. Charles had failures before while leading. One race does not make a championship, but I'm going to go ahead early. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think they're in with a shot for the championship.
You think Norris has got it in the bag?
I don't think they are. I don't think. I think there's clearly been enough reliability issues to show it's not a one-off. It's going to be a bit of a pattern, and they're not going to fix that quickly. So at the start of the year, it kind of looked like they both had reliability issues. Red Bull haven't really had another one, and Ferraris are getting worse and worse. So I don't know if they can fight for this championship. You can't be dropping 25 points every round or 2 or 3 and expect to fight for the championship. It's not going to happen.
Did we figure out what happened to Carlos's car? Did you hear the onboard?
Yeah.
The almighty bang. It sounded like the car broke in half.
It sounded like he put it into reverse or something.
Well, it sounded like that, and it snapped the input shaft. It was big bang. The other side of this whole thing is that's going to result in penalties as the season progresses. Yeah,
so not only do you lose points in the race, but they're definitely going to take engine penalties later in the season, God knows how many times. And that means you're at best starting 10th, right? You pole it It's a 10th place
10
Grand Prix
spots.
League.
Yeah, for the first offence, I think.
Yeah, at worst, you're going to be starting rear of field or pit lane. So I know I'm going early, but I don't know. I don't think they have a shot anymore, even though the thing's fast as hell over one lap. Mm-hmm. Or is it? Or is Charles just a jet?
Are we seeing shades of, a Senna Hamilton type driver in his qualifying performances? Like,
for
he
sure.
is remarkable.
What's he qualify? I saw someone did a post of like all his qualifying for the year.
6 of 9.
6 of 9 and the worst of second.
Yeah.
So it's first, second, first, second. No, this is not verbatim. I'm not actually looking at it. But yeah.
The last
6
4
of 9
in a row.
poles, worst qualifying position of second. Like, and that, with that pace, you should be fighting for the championship, if not walking away with it. But clearly, it's only 1 lap pace, not race pace, give or take.
No I in team. No, remember that. He goes and puts the thing on pole, but he needs the car to finish. So it's unfortunate because we like him. He's a worthy winner, I think. Max has been there, done that. Forget about him.
Yeah, he's
Checo.
He's classy too. Like there's class there. There's talent there. There's everything that should make a good world champion and a good Ferrari world champion. But I don't think it's this year. I just can't see it. I can't see it. They're not going to snap their fingers and solve that reliability problem overnight. No, I don't think so. The thing's going to detonate a few more times. So every time you drop, presumably he'll be leading or second when it happens. So every time you're dropping 25 points, you just can't make that up in a competitive championship.
No, not when that Red Bull is just so good in race pace. And yes, you got to remember they had reliability issues too. I think it's probably squared away now.
I think.
Or is Charles slightly ahead?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point.
I think it's...
But that you're right. Round 1 and 3, I think.
Yep.
Like those things.
Yeah,
those
Melbourne
things
and Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain and Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing since, correct? I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas this is getting worse. This is getting worse. Ferrari were bulletproof-ish at the start of the season, and now they're having it. So
yeah,
I think it's temperature related. I suspect because Spain was hot as shit. I don't know if you remember, but it was like mid-30-degree ambient.
So was Baku,
which is yeah. So was Baku, and then I
finished
saw
Miami.
A post. Was Miami that hot?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I saw a post. I don't know how reliable it was. It didn't look like from the most reliable source. I don't even remember what the page was, but apparently it was a full internal combustion engine, so ICE detonation, and it will have to be replaced. And it was temperature related, but that's odd to me. Like you would see temps coming up and tell him to back off or tell him to box, right? Because the last thing you want to do is detonate one of those. So it would be weird to me. It would be weird to me if it was temperature related in the sense of like temperatures were rising and rising and rising and then it failed. Like that's just not going to happen, right? They're going to tell you to box before that. So it's like an unexpected failure.
They said, yeah, I read that. There's unexpected. The thing is with temperature also, yeah, they've got, I suppose those power units are very similar over the years. They would have an understanding of where, we're going to go back to this stupid word. Do you think, are these the same engines they ran last year, the year before, that they were pretty good? Now, the only difference is the car, the chassis and the aerodynamics. Are we going to go back to the old porpoising thing? Like it could be something as simple as chafing an oil hydraulic line that loses oil pressure. Boom, done.
I mean, yeah, neither of them seemed like that because, actually, it was dropping oil.
Charles definitely. I don't think Carlos. That thing just went boom.
Yeah, it's hard to say. And then, actually, sorry, but just before we go on to that, it's pretty much every Ferrari car though. Guan Yu Zhou or Zhou Guan Yu, whichever way around you say it.
Magnussen was gearbox,
right? But that would be a Ferrari gearbox, would it not?
No, I think you build them in house or. No, there's something with that. I think they might outsource them now.
I thought the whole powertrain was Ferrari. I could be wrong, though.
And Carlos, no doubtedly, that was gearbox 2, I think. It seemed too gearboxy.
But yeah, look, go to your porpoising question. I think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this, which is annoying because it's all I'm seeing everywhere. It's all I'm seeing everywhere is porpoising. You go on YouTube and every F1 video that's suggested to you at the moment, shoved down your throat by the algorithm, is what are they going to do about porpoising? Is the FIA going to step in on porpoising? Has porpoising, going to injure drivers, blah, blah, blah. It's a valid thing to talk about, but I'm also sick of seeing it. But yeah, that could be playing into these failures. 100% it could be. Don't know.
They'll never admit it because they think they've got the best car. Saying that Carlos's car looked pretty damn average in front straight and race trim and the bouncing. So
it could be taking a toll on cars for sure. Should we talk about drivers? Or do we not want to move on yet? Should we talk about the porpoising the toll on drivers? Because people are starting to get mighty vocal.
Well, let's get into that. But first, I think I want to discuss who was your driver of the day. Let's get into it.
Jeez, that's a good question.
Or do you want me to go?
No, yeah, you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Gasly. So he split the Mercs in qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
He finished behind them in the race. He probably wasn't expected to beat them, but I think considering Tsunoda was miles away, I think he's pulling something out of that car and he's just shoving it down Red Bull's throat. I think, and he's really wanting that drive at McLaren.
For the same reason, I'm going to go Seb.
Ooh,
absolutely making Stroll
Curly
look
Sue.
like a bit of a muppet at the moment, and isn't he? He's regressed to like his hairstyle when he first started with Red Bull. Really good job. Yeah, he made that mistake trying to bomb it out around the outside of Ocon, which he didn't need to. He outbraked himself. He outbraked Ocon and himself. Anyway.
And he still recovered from that.
Mistake aside, he did a ripper job in what seems like a car that probably shouldn't be there. At least
straight line speed though, clearly it's there.
Yeah,
that helped.
Montreal
similar.
Seb. I'm going to go Seb for my driver of the day, just because he was doing well, clawed his way up the field, fucked up, dropped back, clawed his way back up the field again. I thought it was quite impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of those guys very respectable. George Russell, Mr. Consistent, Mr. Fourth, I think is probably a better option because he's averaging P4, so we'll just call him Mr. Fourth.
Third though this weekend. Oh,
you can't.
A beer. Sorry.
You ordered a beer. So yeah, George Russell. Yeah, I think he's on par for greatness. I think. There's something about that car that's not suiting Lewis. Is the pain of the porpoising really affecting him?
Well, yeah, this seems like the time to get into porpoising, right? As a segue, let's talk about Lewis and George. Yes, George is doing a better job than Lewis so far this year. Lewis seems to have the porpoising worse, though, everywhere. Like, I've seen comments that he's 0.3 slower than George down the straight. The porpoising visually clearly is worse in Lewis's car. So I don't know if they're running different setups or Lewis has got a different shaped head and it's doing different things aero-wise. I don't know. But
is his arthritis kicking in because of his age?
Jeez. So there's a disparity there, and I think once they sort that out, Lewis will be right up there with him. I've said this before, but once wins are on the line or titles are on the line, I think he'll find another gear and give George a proper run for his money. Much more so than now. But nothing to take away from George. He's doing an outstanding job so far. Porpoising in general, right? Like Lewis was complaining about back pain. George said it was pretty bad. At one point, Lewis said, my seat's gone cold. And I was like...
Yeah, right at the end.
Can't have happened because there's nothing cold in the car after an hour and a half. So it can't be like a fluid leak because that would be hot. So I then thought, has he like pinched a nerve? You know, sometimes if you pinch something, you just feels cold. Anyway, so yeah, that's nasty. I think it was Gasly was talking about it was pretty bad. How he was in his
Ricciardo was as well.
Ricciardo said he felt rattled, not so much back pain, but he felt rattled, like physically shaken in the head. So there's a few things to talk about here. Spine, damage to your spine's nothing to fuck around with. The other thing to talk about here is possible head trauma. I don't know how much their head is banging on headrests, but in the NF, you don't need to be concussed to then have long-term injuries. I don't know how much you know about this. There's a good movie about it, about the dude that first discovered this in the NFL. Mm-hmm. If you have repetitive subconcussive knocks, so not enough to ring your bell, like nothing, but a lot of knocks over and over and over and over, which NFL players have in training and then in games, even if they're not getting knocked the fuck out, it's still repetitive, very repetitive, sustained subconcussive knocks. You develop a thing called CTE, which I won't pretend to know the full medical explanation of what it is, but it messes you up. Like after a few years, it changes your behavior.
Wow.
It changes your behavior. It makes people depressed. It makes people suicidal, homicidal. It's like it actually fucks your brain.
Really?
I don't know if that's happening. That's a pretty big leap. But if it's compressing your spine over and over and over again, and you watch the onboards and you see their helmets bouncing around, like that's got to be bouncing off the headrest somewhat.
It's no good.
It's not good. 6G apparently, vertical G-force sensor in the car.
That's 6 times your body weight jumping up and down on you.
Yeah. So it's hard to even describe. It's hard to even describe that to a layman, what that feels like. What would get someone six times your weight and drop it on your head, more or less?
So I'm trying to dumb it down for everyone listening that
Are you calling our listeners?
I'm calling you dumb. So, no. So if you think about it,
I walked into that. Yeah, go on.
What people don't understand is, and the drivers are saying this, is it's not a soft. It's not just like a bouncing up and down, like you're jumping up and down the ground. It's a sudden stop. So it's a suspension bottoming out. So I've experienced that in race cars where you brake really hard and happen to hit a bump, and it goes through the bump rubbers on the shock, and the shock bottoms out, and it's like a bang, like it's a jar.
Yeah, it's like,
and they're getting jarred, boom, 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 like up and down the straight. That would rattle your brain. I hate to tell you, but that couldn't be good.
Imagine you're sitting on a lawn chair or something, soft underneath, and someone swings a fucking sledgehammer and hits you on the tailbone. Something like that is maybe.
Or you could you sit on a skateboard and roll down a gravel road.
Oh, probably way worse.
Worse than that, but that's the stud and that's the roughness.
Go off a set of stairs.
Or drive a go-kart on a motocross track. Maybe that's a better analogy.
Yeah, it's wild. So I think there's no doubt that it's bad. There's big question marks about what it's going to do health and safety wise, for drivers long term. I think even just forget health and safety wise, just safety wise. Like drivers are saying the car's kind of bouncing around on the straight. George said it's only a matter of time till there's a big one, as in a shunt, as a result of this. So I think that's all accepted. No one's arguing that. The big debate right now seems to be over, do the FIA step in and do some sort of regulation or some sort of regulatory change to help it? Or is it each their own, sort your own, every team sort it out? Some teams have got it better, some teams have got it worse. So clearly the ones that have got it better have the ones that have got it better have found something, have sorted something.
Yeah.
So everyone else just sorted it out.
My concern with and I share the same opinion. I think all the race teams share the same opinion in terms of the cars that are fast have figured it out. And I don't believe they should change the rule to suit the minority who haven't figured it out. Yes, okay, it's a safety concern, but let's say you're Red Bull. You've built a championship-winning car. They change the rule mid-season, which never happens. All of a sudden, everyone's back in contention. You're like, we're the ones that developed this car.
They ban things ban things or change things all the time. I guess
that's that'll be a significant change.
I see what you're saying, but also, at some point when safety's involved, the FIA do and have to step in.
True.
It's like there's yellow. It is not the perfect example. I grant you that, but there's yellow flag rules and red flag rules for a reason, right? Because if you left it up to drivers, they're fucking idiots and they just want to go flat out all the time. And I mean that in an endearing way, not in a harsh way. They just want to go flat out all the time. They'll drive flat out past an ambulance on the track that's helping a driver out.
I've done it.
Yeah, right? Told you, fucking idiots. So, at some point, and this one's slightly different because it's more about teams than drivers, but at some point, the FIA goes, you're morons. No more of that. That's enough. We're putting this in place to stop you doing it. So this is a slightly different scenario, right? Because it's car setup, so therefore it's the teams. I'm sure with driver input, with heavy driver input, the teams are pushing it because they say the lower you run the car, the worse it gets. Toto says it's not that simple, and raising their car doesn't actually help it a lot. But anyway, the largely the consensus is you run a car lower, it's worse, which you do for performance gains. You raise the car, you fix your porpoising, but you make your car slower. So in the nature of a competitive sport, you're always going to throw health and safety concerns and everything out the window to chase performance if you're allowed. Same as a driver's going to go straight past a shunt flat out if they're allowed. So in that context, I see both sides. I see your point and a lot of other people's point, which is why should the people that did a good job and developed a car without porpoising be punished? Yep, I grant you that point. However, I also see the other point, which is sometimes you got to regulate if there's a problem, and I think it's a problem, or no?
We don't see what happens behind the scenes. So they might be the obvious people for the teams to complain to are the media because they'll blow it out of proportion, right? And they've seen it on the TV, so they're obviously talking about it more and more. What is being said in the teams meetings, the driver meetings, and all the rest of it? We will never know. Like they might be saying, "Oh, it is what it is. It's nothing more than a normal bump." Okay, cool.
Which is Christian's point. Christian said about how much the Mercedes drivers are complaining. He said, I'd be telling my drivers to absolutely
complain as well.
Again, this is not verbatim. I'm paraphrasing. I'd be saying play it up and try and get the reg change in our benefit. And he has a point. He has a point. Like you would, but I don't know. You can say they're hamming it up, but you and I have both driven race cars, much slower, obviously, than a Formula One car, but we've both driven race cars on some pretty shitty tracks too. Australia has some fucking goat tracks. Bumpy as all hell.
Baku's nice compared.
And what am I trying to say here is I think watching the onboard, you and I both know that's bad.
Oh,
really bad.
Yeah, I agree. How bad it is in terms of health and safety, I haven't driven it. I couldn't tell you. The only people who can genuinely tell you are the guys driving the car. No one else. You can look at the camera, all the rest of it. Yeah, it looks bad, but certain teams, i.e. Mercedes, going to say what they, the real thing? No, because they're struggling because of it. They think that if they can lower the car and get rid of it, problem solved, they'll be winners. Now, off the back of that, what the most plausible fix I've seen to date is to introduce a vertical G limit. Now, the point of that is the teams are forced to remove the porpoising. So the teams who are struggling will go slower, but the teams who are within that range, it doesn't affect it fixes the safety problem, but it means you still need to design a better car.
Well, it's how they fix safety problems in other series, right? Like in endurance racing, they set a maximum cabin temperature limit. Because again, teams left to their own devices won't air condition the cabin or cool the cabin because it's too heavy. Deal with it, driver. And
Correct.
if you pass out and you get heat stroke, like fucking, whoops. So
I've seen it.
This is actually
This is
actually a very similar problem. And what they don't do there is say you must do this or you have to do that or you have to run one of these devices. They set a maximum cabin temperature and you figure it out as the team. So that's essentially what you're saying here, which is set a maximum G limit as like how hard are they allowed to compress their driver's spine.
Yep.
How many Gs, and then figure it out.
How many discs they can shatter. Yep.
Yeah, and then figure it out from there.
Yeah, I think that to me is the most plausible thing. You can raise the ride height, but Toto said it doesn't fix it.
He did. Other sports do it as well. The Red Bull Air Race. Remember that? Do they still do that? Remember the Red Bull Air Race where they had those stunt planes? They used to fly them through
off
inflatable
the side
pylons.
of a city.
Yeah, through inflatable pylons and gates and stuff like that. Yeah, same thing. They had a maximum G limit to make sure pilots, in this case it was about the pilots, not about the engineers, pilots don't corner too hard. Because obviously being competitive, you're going to try to take that corner or that loop, because they did loops and stuff as well, all sorts of stuff, or that chicane. Anyway, that was pretty insane stuff. I wonder if it still happens. Anyway, they would push that and push that and push that and start cornering too hard and be on the limit of plucking the wings off the thing through like exceeding G limits. So as in actual physical G limits of the plane before it breaks apart. So they set a G limit, obviously well within safe operating parameters. They set a G limit and you literally lost your run in that scenario. You exceed the G limit, done, finished. Doesn't matter if you did it once, doesn't matter if you did it for 0.01 of a second. If your G sensor, I think it was 10G, which is pretty cool as a side.
It's a lot.
If you did 10.01 G, done, finish. You've triggered it, you lose your run. End of story.
That's fair.
So maybe that is the way to do it. That's already two other examples of where it works successfully.
Put it this way. If nothing gets done, we know that teams were juicing it up, and so are the media. Let's be honest. That's the way it is. If something gets done about it straight away, then yeah, okay, it was a genuine concern. Drivers that got broken backs, whatever. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll find. It's a big talking point right now. So I think the FIA need to respond accordingly. Which direction they respond, that's up to them, I guess. But something needs to be said. Shall we? We've talked about enough about porpoising. It's the worst word, honestly.
I'm done with porpoising. You know what I want to talk about, though, in terms of Baku and questionable team decisions?
Mm-hmm.
How's AlphaTauri fixing a broken rear wing on Yuki's car with fucking race tape?
Yeah.
What was that about? Like, that wasn't a little bit broken. That rear wing had, like, snapped in half. And they threw some tape on
so
it.
I think,
off you go, fella.
Yeah, so I think that wing is split anyway in the middle, and obviously where the join was had broken. And what happened as a result is that the DRS had clearly failed and the wing had popped up. So once they push it back down and lock it down, I'm pretty sure that's a hydraulic mechanism. And once you tape it down a little bit, there's enough aero or enough wind resistance that's going to hold it down.
That's true.
So I know, and hence why I think the FIA let it go, because I don't think it would have come up. Because the resistance is not going the other way.
If you're not using DRS, there's nothing
unless you spin.
Coming up. As you spin, have airflow over.
In which case, whatever. You're going to crash anyway.
I don't know. Like wind, like the airflow can do weird things. Like if you're in a draft and there's some, swirling going around.
There would have been a propeller head standing in the garage.
I saw it. I saw it and I saw him drive out. I was like, you are fucking kidding me. Like if I see your point, but if that had failed like at the end of the straight, right before he jumps on the rear brakes, that would have been the mother and father of all shunts. He would have been fucking in a building somewhere or in the Caspian
But he was
Sea.
driving like that though. Bear in mind. He did a few laps like that before they pulled him out.
Yeah. Yeah, and not a bad lap time too.
It's only 50. It's only
like not very, not slow.
Only 50% reduced downforce. Not too bad. Anyway, yeah, I agree. I think, but that's old school racing. How many times I've seen way worse than that? They try and cable tie like, I don't know, wheels on. Like this. That was good.
That's how. talking about supercars for a second, that's pretty much how James Courtney won that championship. Remember when they all crashed at Sydney Olympic Park? Like,
he taped the whole front of the car on.
They all hit the fence. And
in the Jim Beam car, remember?
Yeah, the Jim Beam car, product plug. Well done. They all hit the fence. Like, all the other championship runners parked it in the garage. They, like, pretty much fucking cabled the upright back onto the wishbones or, like, something. Yeah. I don't know the exact details, but, like, mechanically speaking, dodgy as, like, bad. And just sent him out to do one more lap or whatever it was.
To finish, and he won the championship.
So and won the championship. So,
imagine if that was in F1 terms. The world would have gone mental.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we quickly touch on our tips?
Oh, we have to, don't we? I was about to say, should we move on? But no, we have to do that first.
I've got you covered. All right, so you picked first, so I'm gonna run over your tips.
Go on.
Okay.
Should we tell us finishing order first?
Okay.
Tell us finishing order first so we know. Actually, I know it off the top of my head. I don't know why I'm asking you. So what is it? Max, Sergio, Russell, Hamilton, Gasly.
Yep.
Correct? Is the actual finishing order? Yep.
All right. So you had Charles. Then you had Max.
Okay.
Checo.
Okay.
Russell and Lando. Okay. Oh, you were so close. Just mild.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's really good.
It's the first week in about 3 or 4 rounds that I haven't lent heavily into the Mercedes comeback train and put Hamilton and Russell up there, and it kind of worked for me, except for Ferrari's fucking shit pile of an engine. Yeah.
How's our championship points work on this? Well, do we just decide that who's closer?
Yeah, that's what we said. It would just subjectively go, yeah, you get that one, I get that one.
Oh, okay. And it's one apiece at the moment.
It's just 1 point. It's one apiece at the moment. That's it.
Okay.
So keep it simple, stupid. Let's go.
All right. So me, I had Max, then Checo, then Charles, then Lando and Russell. What do you reckon? I got top 2.
Yeah, you've got...
But I stuffed the rest.
Oof, this is a close one to call. I don't know. What do you reckon, Lando?
You got 3. The thing is, you got 3 in a row. Maybe it's about that. How many you get in a row? So you got 3 in a row. No, you didn't. No, so you didn't. I got 2 in a row.
Mine are 3 in a row if you take Charles out and bump them all up one. Yeah.
No, you don't have to take him out. The Ferrari do.
Yeah, I don't know how to give that one. Say yours again.
Max, Checo, Charles, Lando, and Russell.
Yeah.
So I got top 2.
You get that. You got top 2 bang on.
I think if you pick a winner, I think that's got to be bonus points.
Yeah. Well, you pick winner and second, whatever that's called in
second is the first loser
terminology. Quinella? It's not trifecta. Oh, fuck.
Quinella, yeah.
Who cares? I don't give a shit what it's called. Let's go. We're moving on.
Yeah, we're moving on. All right, let's go to Montreal.
Oh, oui. They speak French there, right? That's part of...
Yeah.
It's French.
Yeah, we'll call it that. I'll let it go. Let's... So we're going to start talking a bit about... We talk about the track and the rest of it, but I think we should touch on the country that they're going to, because they go to some pretty cool places.
So I reckon we both got to bring a fact from the country and a fact or an interesting thing about the track. So...
Track or country or city? Because it's technically Canada, yeah?
Well, I
or do you want
my interesting fact about the country, not the city. So for this week, let's say country, and then we can reassess. So because this was my idea, I come prepared. I'll give you some time to Google while I gibber, right? So something interesting about Canada, according to the Google machine, is it is illegal to kill a Sasquatch or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, in Canada. Like, there is some law somewhere, in British Columbia specifically, so not where Montreal is.
So are you safe to walk around then?
So that's pretty good.
Well, everywhere else you're not, they can kill you.
So obviously, like, the consensus is they're not real, but there's a law from way back when somewhere where they thought it could have been ruled that if you see one, you can't kill it. It's illegal to kill it. So you can't kill Sasquatch in Canada. if they're real. Could be. You never know. And something interesting about the track, I think, or something noteworthy about the track, there's a lot of wildlife. So the track is a street circuit, sort of. It's kind of like Albert Park in that it's a park. Most of the time, it's kind of roads or things you can cycle on, and then a few times a year, it's a racetrack. So it is a park. So there's a lot of wildlife. Over the years, there's been not hedgehog. That's not the word I'm looking for. Groundhogs on the track. There's been birds on the track. There's been, what was the other one? I just got
kangaroos.
There's been all sorts of it. And apparently, because there hasn't been a race here for 2 years, there's more than usual wildlife. So they've been having to catch them and relocate them them away from the track. At least they're relocating them. When I first read that, I'm like, don't tell me they're
don't tell me they're killing them off.
Don't tell me, because I got...
well, at least they're moving them. That's good. Here you go. I've got an interesting fact about Montreal.
Hang on.
Lowest...
Loading.
Here, go. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I don't. I clicked on the wrong link. Go on. I'll tell you the
lowest
third
temperature
animal when
ever
I find
recorded. Lowest temperature ever recorded in Montreal. This is random.
Oh, yeah.
Negative 37.8 degrees Celsius.
That's chilly.
Yeah, a little.
I've been in about that temperature, but that was in Alaska, above the Arctic Circle, in the middle of absolute nowhere. So in Montreal, wow.
Yeah, and 1957.
1957.
Pretty crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. That's 60 days a year it snows.
Now? What's the lowest temperature they get now with global warming? Probably like
Plus
12
10
degrees.
No, I think it's still... on average, there are 12 days per year with a wind chill below negative 30. Man, I ain't living there. You can jam that.
Groundhogs and foxes. That was the other animal I was missing. So there's foxes around there. Groundhogs.
Are all foxes the same across the world, or is there different models of them?
Species of fox. I'm sure there's different species of fox. For sure. There'd have to be. Yeah. There's those desert ones that have massive ears. I think they're foxes. And they catch, like, their ears are massive to, like, attract condensation, to attract moisture, I think.
Oh.
And then they use that to drink. I might be mixing up two animals here. That might not be a real thing. Anyway, stay tuned.
I'll let you know.
Stay tuned.
Oh, that's funny.
For Andre's made-up animal fact. There is an animal that attracts condensation on it in the desert.
What, and it lets it drip in, like, what?
Yeah, that is definitely an animal. And there's definitely foxes with really big ears.
All foxes have pretty big ears, mate.
Maybe I'm mixing the two up. Go on.
Oh, this is good. I like this. All right, so the track. It's, as you said, it's a kind of like Melbourne, very stop-startish. There's not much high speed corners. Like it's all chicanes virtually.
There's no high speed corners, but there's big straights though. It's Baku-ish in terms of straight.
It is Red Bull all over. We hate to say it, but they have the straight line speed advantage. It'd be hard to beat them there. We've got the Wall of Champions.
Charles will probably still.
Oh, he'll nip it on pole by half a second, no problem. And then he won't.
Wall of Champions, yes.
He'll end up in that. Mark my words.
Charles will.
Yep.
Does that mean he goes
against it? Yeah, I was going to say it goes against it because he's not champion.
He's a future champion, though.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's... I don't know. Do you think it's going to provide good racing? It's very hard to say, given the stop-start nature.
I don't remember, because it's always on at a shit of a time for Australia. I rarely, historically, I will now that we're doing this, obviously, but I rarely have watched that race, more watched highlights. So, therefore, I can't remember how good a passing opportunity that back straight before the final chicane and the start-finish straight. That is a big straight. It's pretty long. Obviously, with DRS, it should be a pretty good passing opportunity, but is it? I don't know. I
often wonder the corners that are slower. Like you've got an entry corner. I mean, there's probably two ways to think about it. Is it a really fast corner coming into a DRS zone, or a really slow corner coming into a DRS zone? Now, a slow corner, I think, would favour a better car. So something with more mechanical grip. So probably a Ferrari in that respect might come off the corner better. It might favour them a little.
The logic around that used to be maybe different with these ground effect cars. The logic behind that used to be don't have fast corners leading onto the straights that are supposed to be your passing opportunity because there's too much aero wash. The car behind isn't going to be able to follow close enough. So no matter what you do with DRS zones, it's not really going to work for you. So put a slow corner where aero disturbance for the car behind is not that bad. Then it really comes down to traction, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a slow corner and you've got a car like that, Ferrari is very, very good on the power. It seems
seems to be
putting power down. And yeah, look, it's a hairpin before this straight we're talking about. Big long straight, it's a hairpin before it. First gear, second gear hairpin. I don't know what they are with these.
Definitely, I'd be first.
These gearboxes,
yep.
Yeah. So that Ferrari can get its power down well out of there. It could pass.
And where's the other one then? Have they got 2 or 3 here? Let me have a quick look.
Oh, I don't know. You have a Google, mate. None of the others will be meaningful. Like there might be one into that hairpin. In fact, I think there is a second DRS zone into
2
that
DRS
hairpin.
zone. So it'll be that back. Yeah, it's okay.
That back little curvy straight, but it's kind of it's not long enough to be that useful.
Yeah, it's short. Certainly in an F1 car.
Yeah,
that's going to do nothing. That I think the idea will be that gives you the catch up
to set
for the
yourself
last
up for
one.
the second big DRS.
Yeah. Well, we see if it's really effective. The detection zone is out of that little the chicane just in the part way down the back straight.
Yep.
You'll see a dogfight. I saw a thing with Lewis and Alonso a few years ago when they were like,
up. Yeah. Who wants to get the DRS first?
Yeah,
like
we
Charles
might see.
and Max have been doing earlier this year. Yeah.
That's backed off now. Have you noticed? That doesn't really happen.
Well, because I don't think it really is relevant at. It's not really been relevant at the tracks they've been to since.
I think they might have learned.
Like where the DRS trigger line is or the detection line is, it's not a place you can back off and fox the other guy into it.
I think they might have learned their lesson.
Places it is.
I think F1 have done a better job of the detection zone. I think it's got to be in a straight. You don't want them. It's potentially dangerous for them to fight for it.
That's where they were. They were corner entry at Saudi, corner entry at Bahrain. So the bloke in front just has to brake a bit early, let the other bloke past.
Yep.
That's where they start playing games, playing chess with it. Whereas when it's just in the middle of the straight, well,
you don't want to back off.
You're not going to back off to let the other guy cross it first because you're never going to recatch that momentum up. Whereas having a bit of an early break and let the other guy go and have it first, yeah, that's different.
So Charles is up for a bit of an unwanted what's the word? An unwanted record this weekend. If he doesn't win from pole position, he equals the most failed pole position to win conversions of 5.
Who has it now?
Niki Lauda and Montoya.
Montoya makes sense.
And he's 4th. He's 3rd on 4. So if he gets 5, if he qualifies on pole, doesn't win, he equals the most failed pole to win conversions. That's not a record you want.
Yeah, a lot of these records, they're interesting, but they're also meaningless-ish, right? Like so what? What does that one mean? I don't think it means you can't race for shit. I don't think that's what it means. I think it means, if anything, you're a ridiculous qualifier and you out-qualify your car all the time, then you can't convert it to a win because you can't do it over 40, 50, 60, 70 laps.
It's consecutive.
Yeah.
Which is even worse. Not just 5 out of whatever. It's in a row.
That record's almost I don't know. It's almost a compliment on your qualifying as opposed to...
but it's no one remembers qualifying.
No, they don't. No.
You don't get a trophy for... you get a tyre. I mean, awesome.
You get a tyre and you get to stand awkwardly next to some celebrity that gave it to you. Was that Mick Doohan in Baku?
He was obviously there supporting his son, and they said, "Oi, come over here and do this, would you, Mick?"
Yeah, right.
Pay 150 gorillas to,
I don't think it's that. I think it's really more a free sherbets in the Pirelli. Free couple of sherbets in the Pirelli hospitality.
Anyone got any upgrades that we're aware of? It's a short turnaround for upgrades.
Oh, surely not. Surely, yeah, I wouldn't have thought there's anything major coming. But
Freight's
I don't know.
pretty good these days. They can fly stuff in, fly it out.
Well, they just charter a jet, wouldn't they? Like, money's not really an object. Well,
no,
actually,
it is now.
Cap. Good point.
Which, they're talking about that. I think we touched on this last time in terms of they're talking on that teams are complaining about how they can't stick to it.
Yeah, we did. Because inflation and blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
But who was it that made a really good point about this? I can't remember who it was.
Christian Horner made a good point.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't make. No, I don't think he did. I refuse to accept that. Someone made a really good point that, like, in business, and this is a business, it's a sport, but it's also a business. In business, you can't, like, you just have to deal with the situations that get thrown at you. You know what I mean? You can't just go crying to some referee and go, I have more of a budget. I've spent all my money, please. You can't do that. Like, you can spend what you have and that's it. And at the start of the year, they agreed they have this and now they're spending it too fast for possibly situations somewhat out of their control, but not entirely. And now they want to go and have more. It's like, you can't go to your boss and go, hey, I spent all my money. Who made this? And they used the example of because they were talking to the journalist about it. Fuck, I really need to figure out who this was. And they were talking to the journalist about it, and they said, if your job is to report on every Formula One Grand Prix this year, right? And you fly business class to every Grand Prix at the start of the season because you feel like it and you're feeling a bit spendy. Obviously, the analogy there being development. You're feeling a bit spendy, you're feeling a bit flush with cash, and then towards the end of the year, you're like, "Hey, boss, I can't go do my journalist thing at these last 5 races." So that's the amount Horner's saying they're going to miss because I've spent all my money. Boss is going to be like, "Fucking why? What? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
No, like it's just in that context, it's ridiculous. Just figure it out and cut somewhere, figure something out. Yeah. Don't spend on an upgrade you were going to spend on. Figure it out. You got to make it to every Grand Prix. And whoever this was also said, I'm happy if they don't turn up to the last 5 races, because not only will we move up in the results, they'll also forfeit their TV money from the series, their appearance money, if you miss a round.
It was Gunter, wasn't it? I believe it was.
It could. Yeah, it was. It was. Thank you. It was. And he said that's good for us because their TV money will get shared between everyone else. So more money for us.
Yeah, because he can't even make the budget cap even if he wanted to. You know? Yeah. He's probably on 80 mil.
Haas is too tight. He's like, what's the budget cap? 140. You can have 100.
Yeah. 80 anyway. If you start arguing.
Yeah. So it's a very good point. So anyway, how do we go on that tangent? They're now talking about driver salary caps too, because driver salaries are excluded from the salary cap. And Max kind of was kicking off about it. But I've hijacked your point. Sorry, you were about to try and tell me Christian made a good point.
Yeah, but you've got me doubting myself now.
Yeah, so you should. He's pretty.
Oh, he's a great guy, especially on Drive to Survive. Anyway,
it's a bit of a giveaway. If your sentence starts with Christian made a good point, I think you're lying. No. That's harsh.
We were talking about upgrades. We were discussing whether there was a possibility, and it's like you could charter a jet, and you're like, oh, hang on, no, you couldn't.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then you were going to say Christian made a good point. So, regardless if it was a good point or a shit point, what was the point? Do you remember? Or
there's no point.
Oh. What are you even talking about?
Oh, mate, all right. Well, let's talk about... You've hijacked my point anyway about Max.
Driver salary caps.
Go.
They're talking about... Max said in the press conference that he doesn't think it's a good time to do it because the sport's growing. There's more money flowing into the sport. They're doing more races than ever. Everyone's benefiting. Why should drivers not? Or is this the right time to put a cap on driver salaries, which is substantially lower than what the big teams are spending on drivers, which means obviously the highest paid driver is probably going to have to take the biggest cut, which in Red Bull's context is Max. So I can see his point, but also Do you really need to make $50 million a year? Are you probably all right on 30? I reckon you'd get by.
I don't know.
It's about what I see.
Of course, he's going to get by.
What's right. I see what I again, like usual. I see both sides. Like that amount of money is a huge excess, and no one needs it. However, it's not really fair. If the series is making bank, the teams are making bank. Although teams don't really make bank because they spend everything they can, even within budget cap, because they just spend it on budget cap excluded expenses. So the team part I don't accept. But if the series is making bank, and then to say no, but you can't, drivers, the fairness of it probably rubs me the wrong way. But also, you'd be fine on 30 mil, motherfucker. Shut up.
So, damn it, I lost my train of thought. I've got it.
How do you go?
I don't
you make about $30 million a year. How do you get? Do you get by all right?
I'm on a first year apprentice wage. What are you talking about? No, I mean I make $30 million a year to drive because I'm pretty damn good at it. No, I was going to say, on the flip side of the drivers, if they put a salary cap onto the drivers, there's potential. Like, let's say we're still favouring the teams who have more money because they're able to go and spend $50 million on Max Verstappen. But
you're saying if you don't have a cap, or if you do?
If you don't have a cap, you can go and buy Lewis. You could, if the best teams still have that money to go and buy them. Haas might be able to get to 140 million. That's cool. They don't have 50 million to go and buy the best guy. So all of a sudden, there's potential that they're going to be looking more towards the younger generation, the newer drivers, because they don't have to pay them as much. They could probably even get them to bring money in. Now, I don't know where that sits.
Might give young drivers more of a break.
If they keep it the way it is. If they introduce a salary cap, it means that other teams have access to the bigger drivers because they might be able to afford to pay them.
So I think this is... I see your point. I think this is some clever wording on whoever's fighting against this, which I assume is the GPDA, the Grand Prix Drivers Association, right? They're going to be the ones that don't want this. And it's quite clever wording on their part to call it a driver salary cap, because it's not really. All it is include the driver salaries in the team salary cap and raise the team salary cap. That's really the more accurate way to reflect it. They're currently
is that what they're thinking, or they just want to put a cap on it?
They're currently exclusion from that. They want to bring them in with a specific number set to the drivers. So to be honest, the salary cap probably should include the drivers anyway, shouldn't it?
Imagine, let's say it's 140 million now. They say, all right, it's 200 million including drivers. Ferrari go and buy Nick De Vries and Oscar Piastri for a combined total of 2 million. Well, whoop-de-doo. All of a sudden got 48 more million to spend on the car. Boom. Easy win. I think that's why they can't do it.
That would be really cool, though, if they did that. And I don't know if that's what's being proposed here, but if they did that, as in it doesn't have to go specifically for the drivers. Say they're talking about 40 mil. Is it 40 mil they're talking about for a driver's salary cap for both of them? Anyway, whatever. I don't know. Say it's 40. Rather than saying it's a driver salary cap of 40, lift the whole salary cap 40 and then make it all one big giant number. That would be interesting, because then you can go get yourself a bargain and have way more to spend on R&D. Now you're onto something. Interesting.
It's not going to happen. The drivers will fight that off. They're the forefront of the sport. It's in most of the time, everyone watches Drive to Survive to see the drivers. They go to the track to see the drivers. So they'll win. They'll win every time. Anyway.
Yeah, they'll strike if they have to.
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, I just think it's clever the way they're positioning it to make it about driver salary, which I think is a little bit disingenuous. It's just more broadly applying a salary cap, I believe. It's kind of like in America, they wanted to have one political party wanted to bring in inheritance tax. So when you pass money down, it gets taxed, and the other party didn't, right? Yeah. And the polling for an inheritance tax was fine. Like, it actually had quite a bit of support. So the party that didn't want it, they workshopped it. They did focus groups, and they're like, what can we call this what can we call this to get the public way offside with it, like really not want it. And what they called it was a death tax. And then all their messaging, not officially, but in all their messaging and their ads, they started being like, say no to the death tax. They want to tax you even after you're dead. And it completely shifted the argument around that proposal just by choosing how to position it and the language around it. And I think that's what drivers are doing quite cleverly here, is they're making it seem unfair when maybe it's not.
Well,
by their choice of language and how they're positioning the issue. But anyway, maybe I'm giving
time's only going to tell on that. I think, I don't know. I think the drivers, I'm coming from a driver's perspective here. You're a max, you're earning $50 million a year. They're all of a sudden like, we're going to cut your wage in half. You're not going to be happy with that. Whether you can get by on $25 million or not, you've got yourself to that point. You're a world champion. You deserve it of that. Leave it be.
Yeah, the fairness part rubs me the wrong way. That Liberty would be making absolute bank at the moment off F1 and selling TV rights and blah, blah, blah.
And if they did include the driver's cap into the budget, the budget cap, I can tell you right now, all the best drivers are going to go from $50 million a year down to $1 million because they're going to say, I can go and buy a junior driver out of Formula 2 who might not be as good as you, but I can spend an extra $40 million. So they all of a sudden lose their drives.
Or altruistic drivers who really want a championship might be like, pay me less. Let's make that new floor.
Yeah, or pay me less and I'll go and find myself some side gig sponsorship on the side for quite a few million and, bank a check. Anyway, who knows? Anyway, we'll see. There's a lot to come, I think.
We went deep on that. We're nearly an hour in. Holy shit. We better get on with it. What else do we still got to cover for the new round? Tips. All right, let's do them straight away. Who went first last time? Me. You did.
No, all right, hang on. I got to write this down.
Yeah, go.
It's gonna be Checo, Max, Carlos, Charles, and then Brussels. Checo. I don't know why I said that. Checo, Max. Brussels. What did I say after that?
Checo, Max. Then
Carlos.
You said Sainz. Then you said Charles.
Sorry.
Then you said George Brussels.
Well, I can't type as fast as I'm talking.
We looked at the other day. The George Brussels page.
That's it. Charles and Brussels.
Face on a Brussels.
That's it. What a classic. All right, you. Go.
Charles, Max, Checo, Lewis, Brussels.
All right, that's easy. We're at 2 wins, Trent. 1, Andre.
I think I'm being a bit ambitious there on the Mercs. I think this is going to be a bad track for them now that I've thought about it a bit more, much like Baku. But I've said it now, so yep.
Yeah, look, I've favoured Carlos there. That's probably my biggest regret in life.
You never know. He's due one. He's due.
I like him. I do like him. I see he works really hard.
Track.
He works really hard, fitness, everything. I feel he's deserved of it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. What else have we got to cover for this one? Is there anything else we've got to cover for preview?
Shall we quickly, before that weekend starts, shall we quickly touch on the championship standings? Because there was a bit of a shift. So now Checo jumped Charles. But Charles is back to third, but Russell now has crept. He's only 17 points behind. Mr. Fourth, 17 points behind Mr. Pole.
And Mr. Fourth is third in the championship?
Fourth.
Fourth? Behind who?
Charles.
Oh, of course.
Because Charles got 17 Fs, 16 Fs and 3 wins, or whatever he's got.
Nice neat 75 points for 3 wins.
Perfectly smooth. So that's a big jump there. He's ahead of Carlos as well. Poor Carlos. Feel for the guy.
Lewis is nowhere, right?
No, he's 6th.
Yeah,
Lando's 7th. Daniel Ricciardo's 13th. Big difference. I
reckon Ricciardo's on here. I reckon Ricciardo's on in Montreal, actually. I reckon he could have a really good weekend. Where he seems to have his head around that McLaren is tracks with big stops, 90-degree corners. He won in Monza, did well in Baku. This track is similar. There's no big, long, fast corners where you're braking while you're turning and all that shit. It's stop the car, turn the car, go, largely. I think he could have another good weekend.
Okay. First win for Ricciardo, 2014, Canada.
Yep.
So he's got an affinity with this place. He loves it. It's, good memories there. I hope so. I'd like to think.
It is Monza-ish too, if you think about it. Like
sort of.
Long straights, those chicanes, those kind of flip-flop, throw it over the curbs a bit. I think, could be all right. I hope so. He certainly did better in Baku than he's done for the rest of the year. So,
when are we going to do our track preview?
Track preview. We're waiting for...
Actually, a sim lap preview.
We're waiting for F1 22 to come out.
That's 3 years away.
Yeah, because then remember, you're going to do it on the sim with all the flash gear and actually
which is like behind me here somewhere.
And I'm going to do it, and with that sick steering wheel and the sick pedals. And I'm going to do it on a fucking PS5 controller, like a middle-aged dad. Yeah. Anyway, and we're going to compare notes.
Funny thing is, the simulator that's here is yours.
Yeah, I know.
So you're on the PlayStation controller, I'm on the simulator.
Yeah.
Do you want to make sense of it?
Well, when I moved countries, I wasn't going to drag that thing with me, so I thought it could go to a good home, and you're that good home. So congratulations.
Appreciate it. No, thank you.
Doesn't mean I'm not annoyed about it, but
doesn't mean you don't cry at night every night.
yeah. It's so cool. It's got that LCD display.
Do you want to get it out? You want to keep talking, and I'll get the steering wheel.
Get the steering wheel. Go
on.
I want to see it. Oh, your headphones are off, so I'm just talking to myself. Okay.
Bear with me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's the lights on the buttons on the steering wheel light up. It's got really crispy flappy paddles, upshift, downshift. What are you doing, Trent? Fucking get it off. It's a quick release steering wheel, so I assume what he's doing right now is trying to take it off, but he's been an absolute spud about it. There we go. No, hasn't got it yet. Anyway, quick release steering wheel.
I can't unplug it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just come back. It's a nice steering wheel. It's got light up buttons.
Next
it's got
time.
really nice crisp up and down flappy paddles. It's just sick. It's so cool.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'll do a video on the sim at some point, but I've really made the cables beautiful and neat.
But now you
Problem
can't take it out.
So when I really want to show it off, I can't get the thing out because, of course, I've cable tied the plug on, haven't I? Damn it. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
We really, really hyped that simulator up, and it's...
We can't show you. Yeah. We won't edit that out, though, because it shows...
shows our incompetence.
Just a couple of idiots. Yeah, it's good.
Let's segue to Bell End.
Oh, Bell End of the week.
Your favourite.
Good. My favourite. Now, this started life as we were looking for stupid comments from absolute bell ends online. Last week, I kind of used last couple of weeks, I think I've used a real person. And again, that's what I got this week. I don't actually have a bell end comment from social media, but I do have a bell end. Would you like me to go first?
Yes. Oh, actually, I'll go. Because you always go first, so I'll go. Yeah. So, there's a comment. It was on Sky Sports, and it's obviously a picture of Vettel. And it says, Sebastian Vettel responds to F1 driver salary cap discussions with a point down. Some guy's written, he thinks way too much and should leave F1, please. What?
Leave F1. I like how he added please, as if that's going to make a difference. Like Seb's scrolling Instagram, and if that had said he should leave F1, Seb would have been like, get fucked, I'm re-signing.
Please.
But because it said please, Seb's like, oh, yeah, all right then.
Yeah, fair call.
Nah, fair call.
Good on him. I'd like to know who this guy is because, he thinks too much. Well, what are you talking about?
He thinks too much. That's the weirdest insult That's one of the weirdest insults I've ever heard.
I don't like you because you think.
His hair's dumb. He's a shit driver. No, he thinks too much. Yeah, right. Okay.
Highly offensive.
I put it to you, sir, that you don't think enough.
You clearly don't think.
Before having the confidence to speak on the internet. But anyway. Yeah, okay.
It's funny because you scroll the comments and you see the ones that got the most likes. They're not necessarily always the funniest ones.
Yeah.
So we comment. See if anyone listening, you see if you can find our comments. We do a bit of commenting. You know, we post our thoughts on things and we try and post some funny things where we can. See if you can find us. See if you can find us as the bell end. Because I can assure you I'm a bit of a bell end on there sometimes. Just to get a reaction.
And if you see us, tag us.
Yeah.
Tag ourselves.
in our own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you got?
My one is the FIA president, Mr. Bin Sulayem, who was carrying on about very much actually similar to that topic, essentially saying that drivers think too much or too opinionated. Seb should stop standing up for, gay rights, LGBTQI, I hope I got the acronym right, community with his, rainbow helmet and stuff like that. That Lewis should stop standing up for the things he's passionate for, that Lando shouldn't carry on so much about mental health. This is from the president of the FIA.
I'm sorry. Have we just become the bell end here?
What?
This guy's comment is right in line with what you're saying here. He's repeating what this guy said, the FIA president. He's saying he thinks way too much and should leave F1, please. He's being the FIA president.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. Unintentionally, they're very, very similar. But one is like probably a chubby bloke from Norwich, and that's fine. What account was he commented on?
Sky Sports.
Sky Sports, yeah. So he's probably a chubby bloke from Norwich. So fine, you can be a bell end on the internet. Doesn't really matter. Mr. Bin Sulayem, who runs the FIA, maybe not so much. But I think that's a bit of a bell end opinion and a bit of a bell end thing to say. You can't criticise your drivers for standing up for what they believe in. They're not
especially mental health. You cannot. I'm sorry.
Any of them.
Yeah, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Like Lewis is standing up for racial inequality. Like, shut the fuck up if you want him to be quiet about that. Like, what are you even talking?
And was it Vettel was saying about
gay and trans?
Gay, yeah, I wasn't sure what I could say. Yeah. Didn't want to offend anyone.
Yeah, look, I'm never 100% sure either, but the intent is positive, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.
People who get in trouble are usually the ones that are...
Well, he got fined for wearing that shirt, Vettel.
And he said I'd fucking do it again, and good on him. Like,
Love it.
Honestly, if these drivers can't think according to your mate in the comments, and they can't say what they think according to FIA president, like, what are they? They're literally just dancing, performing monkeys for you that shut the fuck up and go backstage when they're done.
They're just spaces between the steering wheel and the seat.
Is that what you want them to be? Like, fuck off. If they can't, if they can't stand up for what they believe in and use the platform that they have, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say. So, Mohammed bin Sulayem, you're a bell end, and pull your head in.
It reminds me.
I think our possibility of getting like a media accreditation to go to a Grand Prix probably just dropped. But anyway,
don't worry about it. We'll deal with it.
Don't worry about it. Not a fan of that comment. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. He reminds me of, you remember back in the Senna Prost days, the French guy. What was his name? The French president. Jean-Marie Ballester. Is that him?
Yeah. It almost sounds like Bellend.
Jean-Marie Bellend. He was the biggest tool on the face of the earth and was right that far up Prost's nose that you could. He would be on the same bandwagon as this guy. Congratulations, you two. You know
what vibe I got from FIA, man, is I got I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, LeBron in the US basketball NBA, obviously, I don't think I need to say that, but for people who might not follow basketball.
I thought he was in hockey.
Not ice hockey either. Field hockey.
Roller hockey, mate.
Hockey roos. He obviously has opinions. He uses his platform. And a journalist in America told him he should essentially said he should shut up and dribble and stay out of talking. Stay out of talking politics. And I assume this was a right wing. I don't know for a fact, but I assume this was a right wing journalist who
just had a crack at him.
Was probably a bit of a racist, I would say. So hence you wouldn't like a black man talking about racial inequality or politics. If that is the case, I could be wrong. So yeah, I got shut up and dribble vibes when I heard what Bin Sulayem said. I was like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, no. Anyway,
president of the FIA, yeah. So not president of Formula One.
I was right. The journalist was Laura Ingram, and she's a Fox News host by the looks of it. So fucking hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah,
how good am I?
Pretty good, if you don't say so yourself.
Sorry, continue. What were you saying?
Yeah, no, I didn't have much. We've covered our bell end, I think.
I think we really have. Yep.
I think for this episode, I think we'll call this our final segment. It's called Under Pressure. This was your idea. Do you want to run through it?
Idea. So we're going to get a funky jingle made, I reckon, along with our outro that we still need to get made.
Okay.
Funky jingle that maybe has a bit of Freddie Mercury, a bit of Queen, bit of Under Pressure. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about? Do you know the song I'm talking about? You don't.
No, I need you to elaborate a little more.
No. No.
Okay.
Anyway, and I thought we could talk about drivers that are or should be feeling the heat a little bit. Given their performances or what's going on. It might even be a situation out of their control. Just they might be doing an okay job, but there's a young junior driver in that team who's scrapping for a seat. Whatever. Just every round, let's talk about who might be feeling the pressure. Very much following the kind of drive to survive vibe, where most drivers in the field are driving to survive.
True.
So, under pressure.
Isolate it to one driver per episode, or one. I don't think it needs to be I don't think necessarily needs.
Just talk about it in general.
Yeah, I don't think we should limit it to drivers though. So, like
good point.
We'll extend it to team figures.
You're talking about Binotto, aren't you? You're talking about Binotto right now because of the engine failures.
Yeah. No, probably just the whole team in general. Bar Charles. Like the strategist, the Binotto, because the buck stops with him. I feel he's a very soft manager. I don't know. Do you get that vibe? He seems like a really, really nice person, but he seems like a little soft. I don't picture Toto and Christian being that soft.
No, I think there's some fireworks that happen behind closed doors there. Whereas, I don't know.
They get results, don't get me wrong.
Binotto seems a little laid back, maybe is the word. Maybe laid back, not so, anyway.
It's Italian, though. I think that's their culture. I think they, I think that's what they're like.
Do a bit of wind tunnel work, then off for a siesta, and we'll come back.
Isn't that in Spain?
I think they do it in Italy as well.
Oh, okay.
Mick Schumacher. Oh, okay.
I've cut you off completely.
Okay, explain.
He's done.
Oh, no. Is that actually your position?
K-Mag.
Done.
K-Mag, 12 months off, call. 12 months out, comes back.
24 months out, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
20. No, it was 12.
12 months, comes back, he's virtually lapping Schumacher. Is that... I would like to see Mick go well. Because he's obviously had a tough time. Yes, okay, he's grown up with a very wealthy family, the most the best driver to live. But now his dad is obviously not in the best way, and I think he deserves a chance because I feel for him. I watched the Michael Schumacher documentary and hear him talking about it, and he's like, I would trade everything we have, to go back to the way it was. So on my personal side, my heart goes out to him. Would he be in F1 without the name? yes and no. He did win an F2 championship. Don't get me wrong. He's obviously very talented, but the old man's name's something to do with it.
I agree with you on all of it. I think, the heart wants him to go well. The reality though is you can't get beaten by your teammate early in your Formula One career. It's that simple.
Do you
Later
think?
in your career, if unless you're friggin' someone's teammate that you're not expected to beat, but generally speaking, you can't really get beaten or trounced, definitely not trounced by a teammate early in your career. Otherwise, you're going to seriously limit your future options. And obviously, he had Mazepin's number just fine last year, and his measure, and not his number, as in his. I'm sure he had his phone number as well. You can't. It's not looking good. Can't keep getting belted by K-Mag. You really can't. So I would agree. Definitely under pressure, and I hope can turn it around.
Has he had any decent results?
Well, he's pointless. Sorry, he has not scored a point, is what I mean. So no, not
his role is pointless.
Nothing springs to mind. I think he'll get it. I think
there's nothing pointing towards him going well.
I think it'll click. I think he'll have some good results later in the year. But right now, I think K-Mag's got his measure, and it's a problem.
K-Mag, in my opinion, has always been top notch. You know, he's very good, and so was Grosjean. Crash or not, he was good. He's proving that in IndyCar now. He's right up there. Yeah, that's probably my. Who have you got under pressure? Or did I cut you off at the knees?
No, you didn't. Should be, but probably isn't.
Oh, here we go.
Stroll.
Stroll. I knew it.
Stroll. Nose it into the barriers in quali, whatever. Tries to press on.
Fully shunts
the barriers proper. Did, from what I can tell, did very little in the race. Vettel's got his number. Vettel's has scored, I saw this today, 80-something% of the team's points.
Stroll's
so
on
far
2.
This year.
Vettel's on 13.
13. And don't forget, Vettel missed the first 2 races with COVID. So,
true.
Stroll.
Hulkenberg.
And obviously, I don't think I need to explain it, but the reason I say should be under pressure, but probably isn't, is obviously Dad owns the team. So, is he actually under pressure? Probably not.
You'd probably leave it at that,
be.
could you? Daddy owns the race team. I'll do what I want.
I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that level of kind of. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if it's that bad, but yeah, it's good. I don't think he's at risk of getting the punt. Maybe should be. In any other team or any other ownership scenario, he's under pressure, right? Heavy. But not just get replaced at the end of the year under pressure. Like, if he were in a Red Bull, this would be the old "you're out" mid-season pressure, right?
Let's talk about every second pairing. Carlos, if he was in a Red Bull, he'd be gone. Let's be honest. What's he done?
Mid-year, you reckon?
What's he done?
Yeah. Okay.
They're that ruthless. You've got Latifi. He would definitely have been gone.
Mm-hmm.
Schumacher. Yeah, probably. Gang Zhao. What is his name? I always forget.
Zhou Guanyu.
Yeah. Guanyu Yo.
Mind you, he out-qualified Bottas, didn't he?
He did. The first race ever.
And he draft past at Bottas. I think they're on different strategies, though, but he fucking towed past Bottas in the race. It's only his, 4th race. Give him a fucking break. 5th, 6th, whatever.
You said early career you can't get beaten.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
So he's done. Danny Rick, well, we've discussed him enough. Let's get over that.
Yep.
Ocon, how is he beating Alonso in the championship? I think Ocon. I feel he needs. Let's talk hypotheticals here. I think Alpine are grooming Oscar Piastri. That's awesome, but they need to bring him into a race seat. Now, in my opinion, get rid of Ocon and use a double world champion to teach him
to learn
while he's young. Don't boot Alonso and put Piastri in as Ocon's teammate. What's he going to teach him?
I don't think Ocon's bad, but I don't know.
No, but I think
Piastri. I think Piastri can be like a superstar.
Correct, and I think Alonso's the best man to teach him. Use Alonso while you can. He's not young.
Very true.
Williams, obviously, get rid of Latifi and put De Vries in there because that would be a good pairing, you know.
Although apparently Piastri might be on for that.
I heard that.
Don't ask me how that works, but yeah.
And then
anyway.
I don't know. Yeah, and Danny Rick.
I think Checo's doing it. Checo's doing enough to not be under pressure. They just re-signed him for 2 years. However, my hopes that after Monaco that maybe he's going to give Max a run for his money have kind of evaporated. We're on tangents now.
Not really. He was faster in every practice session and out-qualified Max. It just didn't work in the race.
And finished 20 seconds behind him in the race.
Yeah, but I think I was reading a few things, and I think Checo was like, well, I just need to get to the end. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to... There's no point fighting.
Save everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I hope so. Because if that was on sheer performance...
I like him. Good on him. Anyway.
Yeah, if Red Bull are going to win, I'd like Checo to win, personally.
Yes.
New world champion, Mexican world champion.
Seem to agree. There's nothing against Max there, or is there?